Welcome to Grand Sumo Breakdown,
the unofficial sumo podcast
for official sumo fans. Welcome to Grand Sumo Breakdown, the only podcast dedicated to Ben Affleck's horrible fullback Phoenix tattoo. This is Jake.
I guess I have some Googling to do. This is Ryan. This is our Haru 2022 Banzuke prediction. I think that's going to keep me thrown off for the entirety of this episode, which this is not a good one for me to be thrown off on, because this might be the toughest Banzuke, or at least the most complicated Banzuke I've looked at.
Don't try and change the subject, Ryan. We're talking about Ben Affleck's horrible fullback Phoenix tattoo that everybody needs to Google, because I discovered it today and I needed to share it with the world.
Ben Affleck back tattoo.
Right. Was it like the first thing that came up when you typed Ben Affleck?
I was typing too fast. I'm really good at typing, you see. I mean, it's certainly not great. It's a choice.
It's a choice, that's for sure. All right,
midlife, it looks a lot like a midlife crisis.
Right. And Ryan, earlier in the week, you mentioned that this might be a little bit longer of a Banzuke episode. So to keep me and some of the listeners entertained, every single rank I will have multiple Ben Affleck fun facts for everyone, just to
we'll just make it longer.
Yeah, but just to keep it interesting. I'm just kidding. I've already gone. That's already one more Ben Affleck fact than I've ever shared on a podcast before. So I think we'll keep it there.
All right. Check.
But go
Discord.
Google that tattoo.
Yeah, check the Discord. I sent you a picture, Jake. You'll enjoy it while I read my little written statement. So like I said, This is a very interesting and complicated Banzuke to predict. Not the very top, but towards the top of the Banzuke, we're going to have an area where there's just too many people that all deserve to be the same rank, and at least one Rikishi is going to be absolutely snubbed by like 2 ranks. But figuring out who that Rikishi is going to be is a little tricky. And then about halfway through, we're going to be entering a chasm that can only be filled by pulling Rikishi up 4, 5, and even 6 ranks higher than they deserve to be. There are very few ranks on this Banzuke where I was able to give my brain a break, but at least the first 2 ranks of Yokozuna and Ozeki are easy. So let's go. All right, Yokozuna, Teruno Fuji, easy. Let's go, Jake. We need a Ben Affleck fact. One rank, one Ben Affleck fact. Yeah. That's what you promised the people.
Okay, I'll have to catch up. I need to do a little bit more Googling too. In case you weren't aware, Ben Affleck is actually from Boston. He doesn't mention it very often. Sometimes he goes whole sentences without bringing it up.
Ozeki. On East 1, we will have Shodai. He had the better record than Takakeisho in the previous Basho, so he will be the top Ozeki. Takakeisho will slide over and be the Ozeki 1 West. And then we will obviously have the promotion of Mitake Yumi, and despite him having a significantly better record than both Shodai and Takakeisho, Mitake Yumi will be the lowest ranked Ozeki, because the Rikishi that is making their Ozeki debut is always the lowest ranked Ozeki. And that rank for Mitake Yumi will be Ozeki 2 West and not Ozeki 2 East. And that is because the east and west sides of the Banzuke for the Sanyaku ranks must be even. And we have Teruno Fuji taking the east side of the Yokozuna rank, and there's no west Yokozuna to balance him out. So to balance out the Sanyaku ranks, we are going to have Mitake Yumi over on the west side instead of him filling that open to east position. Then at Sekiwake, there are going to be 2 open slots for Sekiwake with Mitake Yumi's promotion and Takanosho's demotion. And there are 3 guys that deserve to be Sekiwake based on what the numbers tell us. Those are Wakataka Kage, Hoshoryu, and Abi. So Wakataka Kage is who I have taking the East Sekiwake slot. He was the top Mega Shira, got a 9-6 record. And I think the fact that he was in the Joy will give him the tiebreaker for that East Sekiwake slot over who I have going at the West Sekiwake slot, which I believe will be Abi. So despite Hoshoryu kind of being in contention for the Sekiwake slot by the math, he really isn't in consideration. Both Hoshoryu and Abi were Maegashira 6, and Abi had one more win than Hoshoryu did. So obviously, Abi is going to be ranked ahead of Hoshoryu on the next Banzuke. And I think, once again, with Wakataka Kage, I think he's got to get one of those Sekiwake slots. I don't think you're going to have Hoshoryu and Abi both jump over Wakataka Kage, drop him down to Komosubi. So for that reason, I don't really think Hoshoryu is in the running at all for a Sekiwake slot.
So did Hoshoryu and Abi both had at least a couple Joy matchups, right? I know Abi got a handful of them towards the end. That's got to count for something, I bet, right?
Abi got 3 or 4, and Hoshoryu got 2.
Okay.
But I think kind of what I've been seeing, even if you've dipped your toes in fighting the Sanyaku slate, you're still not going to get the same treatment as somebody who fought a full Sanyaku slate like Wakataka Kage did.
Sure.
And so there is another person we could consider for Sekiwake over Abi and Hoshoryu, and that would be Ura. By the math, he only deserved to be ranked Maegashira 1, but he was in the Joy in the last Basho. They could just say, all right, you were in the Joy, Abi Hoshoryu, you were not. We're going to jump you up to Sekiwake, even though he doesn't even deserve to be in the Sanyaku ranks based on his previous rank and record. But it would just be too much of a slap in the face of the math to throw Ura up there instead of Abi. And so I'm just going to stick with Abi there. And so we'll have 2 guys, I believe, making their Sekiwake debut for the Haru Basho. 2 exciting guys, Wakataka Kage and Abi.
Yeah, because Abi, we've mentioned this in the past. He's been Komosubi like
once.
Was it just the one time?
Yeah.
I thought, who was the guy that's been Komosubi a bunch but never Sekiwake?
Abi. Abi was
okay. So
Komosubi.
He was there one time, but it was for most of a year.
Yeah,
what you're talking about?
Yeah, he was Komosubi 4 consecutive Basho, never made it up to Sekiwake. Wakataka Kage was Komosubi once, got a 5-10 record.
Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know if I misspoke. I meant Abi, but Abi would be making his Sekiwake debut despite being Komosubi a larger number of times than you would have expected without making Sekiwake.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Now I'm with you.
All right. Any more Ben Affleck facts for the people? The people need to know, apparently.
There was one movie where like I can't remember if he like almost lost a role or something, but like there was some big hitch in the production because he was being such a butthead that he wouldn't wear a New York Yankees hat in character.
You know what? I don't blame him. If I had a movie role and they told me that I had to wear a Packers hat, it's like, I don't need money, I guess.
You know, the number of millions of dollars to be paid for a movie, it would not have to be very many millions of dollars at all for me to have to, just wear somebody else's hat. I don't know. I'm just saying. But then again, I'm not the kind of guy who gets a gigantic, horrid Phoenix fullback tattoo. So
yet, you haven't hit that midlife crisis yet.
There is still plenty of space for ink here. So we'll see.
Give it 10 years. So we drop down to Komosubi, and we will have 2 new Komosubi this time, since both of our previous Komosubi had losing records in the Hatsu Basho. We know one of them is going to be Takanosho. He was Sekiwake West. He ended up with a 7-8 record, and for the past 30 years, every time a Sekiwake West with a 7-8 record, they have dropped down to only Komosubi and no further. So the question is, who is going to join Takanosho at Komosubi and which side are they going to be on? For me, I am going to go with Hoshoryu at the open Komosubi slot. I think it could come down to Hoshoryu. Once again, Ura, you could throw him in there, but now we also got to kind of consider Onosho in this conversation as well. So once again, if we look by the numbers, Hoshoryu and Onosho deserve to be at least Komosubi rank, and you would think Hoshoryu would have the edge over Onosho because he was ranked 1 below Onosho but ended up with 1 more win. If we're looking at them being like ranked Maegashira 10 and Maegashira 11, Hoshoryu would jump him 10 out of 10 times. But when you're getting so close to like the Sanyaku ranks, weird things can happen. But because Onosho being just one rank ahead, he fought a full Sanyaku slate, whereas Hoshoryu, like I said, he only fought 2 Sanyaku Rikshi. So the Banzuke selection committee could once again kind of go against the numbers and make Onosho our last Sanyaku Rikshi. Or, as I mentioned, you could have Ura up there since he was fully within the Joy, had that 8-7 record. But I still don't. I just think we have to disregard Ura in this conversation. We've seen plenty of times where Maegashira 1, Maegashira 2 had promotable records to go up into the Sanyaku ranks, but because there were more deserving people, or it was just full, they didn't go. So I don't think there's any reason that they would jump them up more than they deserve. Typically, this is the part of the Banzuke where you get less of a promotion than you deserve because there's too much of a logjam.
Sure.
So it comes down to a no-show or Hoshoryu. I'm going to go with the numbers on this one, and mostly my desire to see Hoshoryu in the Sanyaku ranks as soon as possible and make him the second Komosubi along with Takanosho. So then we have to decide which side will they be on. I thought for sure it would just be, okay, drop Takanosho down to Komosubi West. But last time we saw Daisho with a 8-7 record at Maegashira 1 East, and I think it was Meisei dropping with a 7-8 record from Sekiwake West. You'd think, all right, just drop Meisei a full rank, bump Daisho up a full rank. Easy enough. Daisho ahead of Meisei, but they didn't do that. They put Meisei ahead of Daisho. So I could definitely see, since Hoshoryu's coming from outside of the Joy, them leaving Takanosho on the east side here. But in the previous Banzuke, Daisho, and Meisei both deserve to be that same rank of Komosubi. So I think they kind of went with the tiebreaker with Meisei having previously been in Sanyaku to put him ahead. Here, Hoshoryu, by the math, deserves to be ahead of Takanosho. So I'm going to have Hoshoryu on the east side and Takanosho on the west side.
Gotcha. It was Gone Girl.
Okay. I heard good things about that movie. Never actually saw it, though.
I kind of liked it.
Yeah.
So he shut down production for 4 days until they reached a compromise, and the compromise was he wore a Mets hat instead.
Fair. I like it.
What a baby.
You got to stick by those principles, Jake. If you believe in something firmly, you got to stick by it. At least when it comes to like sports, not important things like your health.
Yeah. Not your health or like human rights or some charity cause. It's about sports teams.
Yes. All right. Let's look at the Maegashira 1 rank. Now, this is another spot where we have too many people that can go here and not enough slots for them all to go. So the 3 people that can go here, once again, Ura. Obviously, we're just talking about Onosho for Komosubi, so he could obviously go here at Maegashira 1. And then the other is Daisho, who is going to be dropping from the Komosubi rank. He just had a 7-8 record, so he should just drop 1 spot. So the problem with this rank is typically, okay, whoever doesn't get this, we'll just drop them down to Maegashira 2. I don't think we can do that on this Banzuke. I think whoever doesn't get this rank, they're going to be forced to go down to Maegashira 3. And they're going to be absolutely snubbed. It's not going to be Ura. He had a winning record for Maegashira 2 East. He needs to be promoted. I have him going at the Maegashira 1 East slot. So that leaves either Daisho or Onosho to be snubbed and go down to Maegashira 3. Since no Komosubi with a 7-8 record has dropped to the Maegashira 3 rank literally ever, I'm going to go with Daisho as your Maegashira 1 West. So that means Onosho, I have him going down to Maegashira 3. And the reason that I'm putting Onosho down to Maegashira 3 is because of the 2 Rikshi that I have ranked at Maegashira 2, Ichinojo and Tamawashi. Ichinojo was 8-7 from Maegashira 2 West, and Tamawashi was 8-7 from Maegashira 3 East. Both have winning records and need to be promoted. The only way that we can do that, because we filled up everything ahead of them up to this point, is to move each one up a half rank to fill the Maegashira 2 rank. So Ichinojo would move up a half rank from Maegashira 2 West to Maegashira 2 East. Tamawashi move up a half rank from Maegashira 3 East to Maegashira 2 West. And I think you have to move those guys up, and that's kind of what causes the snub of Onosho or Daisho if the Banzuke committee chose to go that direction. some people, I've seen some talks like, well, can't we just kind of freeze Ichino? Hey, stop moving my mic, dick. Sorry, my cat is moving my mic. People were asking, can we just freeze Ichinojo and Tamawashi's ranks at 8 and 7? That way we can get like Onosho up to Maegashira 2, or maybe get him up to Maegashira 1, drop Daisho down to Maegashira 2, something like that, make it more fair. And I didn't think that there was a possibility of that, but doing some digging, there is precedent for a very similar situation, for some Rikishi to not be promoted after an 8 and 7 record, which we've seen once since I've been doing Banzuke predictions, but that was a weird thing with like the number of the Sanyaku ranks fluctuating greatly.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And that was importantly, I think, in that conversation, the number of Sanyaku slots decreasing in that situation, whereas here the number of Sanyaku slots are increasing, which kind of affects like your overall order in things. Like if you stayed at your same rank and the number of Sanyaku slots increased ahead of you, technically you got a winning record, but there's going to be one more person ranked ahead of you if you're not moving forward at all. Whereas if the Sanyaku slots decreased in front of you, you could stay at the same rank, but now you're going to have more people ranked behind you as opposed to ahead of you,
Sure.
which I think is more palatable if you're not going to move somebody forward in the Banzuke. But that precedent that I mentioned, in Aki 1991, there were 2 Sekiwake and 3 Komosubi at that time. So 3 of the Sanyaku slots ended up being vacated based on the Rikishi's record, and both Maegashira 1 spots were vacated based on the records. So those 3 Sanyaku slots were filled by a Maegashira 1 that went 11 and 4, a Maegashira 3 that went 11 and 4, and a Maegashira 5 that went 13 and 2. So we all had double-digit guys jumping ahead of some Maegashira 2 and 3 Rikishi that had 8 and 7 records. And then the 2 open Maegashira 1 slots were filled by 2 Rikishi dropping from the Sanyaku ranks that both had 7 and 8 records. So that left a Maegashira 2 East, a Maegashira 2 West, and a Maegashira 3 East, who all had 8 and 7 records with nowhere to go. So they all kept their previous rank.
Gotcha. So that seems like a much more forced situation than this one.
That's what I'm thinking in my head, since they were not promoted in order to protect like the Sanyaku Rikishi from dropping too far. And in order to not promote these guys, we would be protecting a Maegashira 5 Rikishi from not getting enough of a promotion to be ahead of them. Because I'm kind of looking at it. You have Ura filling up definitely one Maegashira spot. And then the Maegashira 1 spot, Daisho filling up that other Maegashira 1 spot, and then you have Maegashira 2 East, where you could look at like, okay, either Onosho could go here, or Tamawashi could go here, or Ichinojo, sorry, could go here. Well, Ichinojo needs to be promoted. Whereas in the other situation, it's like, all right, we have these 2 Sanyaku Rikishi dropping. They're taking these Maegashira 1 spots. There's no other spots for you to move. So that's where I'm seeing the difference here. There is that 1 spot of wiggle room to move these guys over.
Sure.
So that's why I am going to be sticking with moving those guys up a half rank and giving the snub to Onosho. And why it's snubbing Onosho, he was Maegashira 5 with a 10 and 5 record, and jumping
that
him
could
up to
easily be Sekiwake in a different Banzuke.
Exactly.
That's
yeah.
such a bummer for him.
Yeah, and only getting a 2 rank promotion, just it sucks. But like I said, he's landing there based on all those other puzzle pieces above. I could be wrong about who lands here, but like I said, no matter who it is, they'll not be happy if they choose to demote Daisho. Instead of placing him at Maegashira 1, he would be like the first Komosubi with a 7 and 8 record to land at Maegashira 3. If they decide to place Onosho at Komosubi instead of Hoshoryu, and Hoshoryu ends up at this rank, he would be the first Maegashira 6 with an 11 and 4 record to land at this rank. At least with Onosho landing here, he would be the second Maegashira 5 Rikishi with a 10 and 5 record to land at Maegashira 3. And it happened somewhat recently. That happened to Aoyama in 2014. So with that being recent precedent and all the other reasons above, I just think Onosho is going to get snubbed here a little bit.
That sucks, but yeah, I guess I get it.
Yeah. So the next spot is going to come down to Kiribayama and Meisei. Kiribayama had a 6-9 record from Maegashira 1, and Meisei had a 5-10 record from the Komosubi rank. Typically, this would be a spot where I think Kiribayama gets the nod, since kind of like I talked about with Hoshoryu jumping over Onosho, typically because he had one more win from one rank behind him. Kind of the same thing for dropping. Meisei had one more loss from one rank ahead of Kiribayama. So if this was like Maegashira 10-11 again, you would expect Kiribayama to be ahead of Meisei on the next Banzuke. But Meisei was a Komosubi in Hatsu, and we have seen some interesting things happen with falling Komosubi recently. Ichinojo only dropped 2 ranks after his 5-10 record in the Kyushu Basho, which snubbed both Endo and Tamawashi. And in Aki, Takayasu was a Komosubi who had a 4-11 record, and Hoshoryu was a Maegashira 1 with a 5-10 record. Anywhere else on the Banzuke, Hoshoryu would have been ranked ahead of Takayasu for the next Banzuke. But because Takayasu was a Sanyaku Rikishi and Hoshoryu was not, Takayasu remained ahead of Hoshoryu. So because of us seeing dropping Komosubi get very lenient demotions pretty consistently recently, I'm going to just kind of slap the math in the face right here and go with Meisei at Maegashira 3 West ahead of Kiribayama.
Sure.
And then at Maegashira 4 East, it's at this point when I was writing the outline, I'm just like, oh my God, I've been writing a whole lot for this so far. I was like an hour into writing this outline and figuring out all the logic. And I'm just like, oh, this is a lot. I'm only at Maegashira 4. I was having a crisis as I was doing this. But at Maegashira 4, we once again have 3 guys that deserve this rank. They're Kiribayama, Endo, Takano Fuji. By the math, all of them deserve to be Maegashira 4 West. And so we're going to eliminate Takano Fuji from contention for this, since he was outside of the Joy, while both Kiribayama and Endo were in the Joy. And so we're going to give them the nod for Joy bias. And then I'm going with Kiribayama at Maegashira 4 East, and then Endo at Maegashira 4 West. It was a dead tie to determine who would be on the east side, who would be on the west side. My gut was telling me to go with Kiribayama, since he was the higher ranked Rikishi. Then I did a little bit of research, found exact precedents for this situation. And the Rikishi falling from Maegashira 1 West with a 6-9 record ended up at Maegashira 4 East, and the Rikishi with a 7-8 record from Maegashira 3 West ended up at Maegashira 4 West. So my gut feeling was kind of confirmed by that past precedence, and so I am going to stick with that choice and have Kiribayama on the East and Endo on the West. And so that should end our Joy for the Haru Basho. Obviously, there will be some cases where Rikishi are going to jump up and face a Sanyaku Rikishi, but those are the main guys that are going to be in the Joy. So starting our mid Maegashira ranks at Maegashira 5 on the east side, I've got Takano Fuji, since he was in consideration for the Maegashira 4 rank, didn't get it. Got him landing at Maegashira 5 East. And then this rank is like the first easy one, because there's only one other Rikishi remaining that deserves to be ranked Maegashira 5, and that's Ishiura. So he should be seeing a rise of 7 ranks after his 11-4 record from Maegashira 12. So that should be easily Ishiura's best ranking in his career. Then we get to Maegashira 6. We finally sorted out the logjam at the top of the Banzuke that I had mentioned at the top of this episode. We got a little bit of a break with the Maegashira 5 rank, and Maegashira 6 rank is pretty simple as well. But the Maegashira 6 rank is also us standing on the precipice of a gaping chasm. It's not quite there, but we're just like 1 foot away from diving into the abyss. So after this, things are going to get very difficult again, but in a very different sort of way. But for the Maegashira 6 rank, we have to pull from a pool of Rikishi that deserve to be Maegashira 7. So we're starting to see, okay, we're having to pull people up further up the Banzuke than they deserve. Only by 1 rank here. That's why we're on the precipice. But once again, it's going to get dire.
Okay, everybody hold on to your butts.
Yep. So there's 3 Rikishi that deserve to be Maegashira 7. Only 2 of them can go to Maegashira 6 because the other one would involve a promotion for Takayasu, who was held out of the last Basho because of COVID. So Hokuto Fuji, Koto no Waka, those are the only two guys that can land here. We're going to put Hokuto Fuji at the Maegashira 6 East rank since he was in the Joy previously. So that means Koto no Waka will be Maegashira West, and he'll get a 8 rank rise after his 11-4 record from Maegashira 14. Hold on, my cat is messing with the door, so let me kick him out of here.
So Ben Affleck, when he and Matt Damon were getting their start writing scripts, they would often like slip weird, completely out of the blue things in to see if producers were actually reading them or not.
I think I've heard this one.
Including a guy-on-guy sex scene out of the blue in the middle of a scene in Good Will Hunting. And if the producers would actually comment on it, they would know that they read the script. And basically nobody commented on it, apparently, is what I'm reading.
Jeez.
There are a lot of results when you just Google Ben Affleck fun facts.
I'm sure any celebrity you could do that with. But we'll stick with Ben Affleck here because, why not?
I'll pick a different random celebrity for next episode. Yeah.
That's right. What the people want, Jake. So Maegashira 7 to
what people?
No
one asked
the people.
For this.
All of them.
In fact, we get daily fan mail saying, please don't cover Ben Affleck fun facts on your podcast.
You'd be surprised at how much Ben Affleck haters just throw that mail to everybody. Like Sumo content gets it. It's video game streamers. You see it all the time. They're talking about, no, I'm going to talk about Ben Affleck. I'm sorry. It's just going to happen.
There's a new podcast in town. Quick, send him the Ben Affleck form letter.
Yeah. Ben Affleck haters are very prominent in society. Until you're a content creator, you just don't get it.
Yeah. It's a noble cause. Somebody's got to do it.
Until Hollywood stops hiring him. Well, he can't take his shirt off in movies now with that back tattoo, so.
Oh, God. You know that he asks to, though.
Maegashira 7.
I'm not wearing a Yankees hat, and I want to take my shirt off. These are my terms.
Don't even need to pay me.
Okay, what rank are we on? Maegashira 7, you said?
Yeah, on the east side, that's going to go to Takayasu. As I mentioned, he did not participate in the Hatsu Basho, but that was due to his Heya being held out due to COVID. We know that they've just been freezing the rank of the Rikishi held out due to COVID, so he should be safe at Maegashira 7 East. And now here we dive into the chasm. There is no other Rikishi that deserves to be ranked Maegashira 7. There is no Rikishi that deserved to be ranked Maegashira 8. There is no Rikishi that deserves to be ranked Maegashira 9. There is one Rikishi that deserves to be ranked Maegashira 10, and that is Sada no Umi, who had an 8-7 record from Maegashira 11. But I'm not going to put him here. The only other Rikishi who could feasibly go here are the dropping Oki no Umi, who had a 4-11 record for Maegashira 4, who deserves to be Maegashira 11. And there's also a dropping Chiyo Shoma with a 4-11 record for Maegashira 5, who deserves to be Maegashira 12. Chiyo Shoma's not in this conversation, but those are the only two Rikishi that are dropping at this point that we have to consider. And so I actually decided to go against the numbers on this one, and I went with Oki no Umi here because he was in the Joy in the previous Basho. Every time I look at the Maegashira 7 West spot, I change my mind between Oki no Umi and Sada no Umi. Like, literally, I've changed it on my Banzuke 3 or 4 different times because I just think of it in a different way. And I'm like, oh, no, this guy will go here. But just kind of because of what we saw on the previous Banzuke where they were so heavily favoring Joy bias, I'm just going to go with a minimal drop for Oki no Umi after a 4-11 record here. I'm back to the point where I think it should have been Sada no Umi that I put here, but I already made my guess the Banzuke prediction, so I'm kind of locked in to that. So I've got Oki no Umi here. Could very easily be Sada no Umi, but I'm fairly positive it'll be one of those two guys. So we go to Maegashira 8, and since I was considering Sada no Umi for Maegashira 7 West, we'll place him at Maegashira 8 East, and then we dive deeper into that chasm. So we just used the one Rikishi that deserved to be Maegashira 10 already. There's one remaining Rikishi eligible to be ranked Maegashira 11. We had Chiyo no Kuni in that group, or Okinoumi, sorry. We had him in that group. We already pulled him out of it. There's only one other Rikishi that deserved to be Maegashira 11, but that was Tobizaru, and he went 6-9 from the rank that we are trying to fill. I don't know if a 6-9 record has a Rikishi with a 6-9 record has ever maintained their rank in the next Basho. I don't think so. I didn't do that research, but I don't think so. And so I'm not going to predict it to happen now, which means now we have to pull from a group of Rikishi that deserve to be Maegashira 12, of which only 2 are eligible to go here, since the other one of that triumvirate is a 7 and 8 tier Tsuyoshi that was ranked Maegashira 11, so he would be getting a promotion. So what we need to do is we need to choose if we want to demote Chiyoshoma only 3 ranks after a 4-11 record, or promote Wakamoto Haru 7 ranks after a 9-6 record. Because once again, we're pulling from a pool of Rikishi that deserve to be Maegashira 12. We're trying to fill Maegashira 8.
I don't want to do either of those. Can we leave it blank?
No, I don't think so.
They left it blank when Hakuho retired. Just do that again.
It was too hard. We're only going to have 36 guys in the Banzuke this time. Juryo's got 34 now.
So, I can deal with that.
Yeah. So despite Chiyoshoma not being in the Joy, he was still ranked 10 ranks higher than Wakamoto Haru. So I'm going to kind of go with the strength of schedule argument and go with Chiyoshoma dropping 3 ranks after a 4-11 record over Wakamoto Haru, who would have been promoted 7 ranks after a 9-6 record. So like I said, it's a very different difficulty with this than we were at the top. We're trying to figure out we got so many guys. How do we eliminate these guys and figure out who will go here and who's going to get absolutely snubbed? This one, it's like, there's nobody. We have to find somebody to pull up here. It's a very different kind of mindset that you have to get into, and to both happen severely on the same Banzuke sucks. All right.
I mean, it makes sense that they happen on the same Banzuke.
It does, but
I created a vacuum in one spot and now it has to be filled.
True. I've seen one situation happen on one Banzuke, but I think this is the first time where I've really seen it been this bad.
In
both ways, at least. Yeah. And I guess kind of to your point, the worse it is in one direction, it kind of should shift the other way.
Yeah, but it doesn't seem like it's a really big vacuum in one spot and then like a slight surplus for the rest of it. Yeah. It's just this one giant mountain and one giant pit.
The pit, we're not even at the bottom of the pit yet. Don't worry.
Oh, all good. Right. Oh, good.
Maegashira 9 East. Once again, we were considering Wakamoto Haru for Maegashira 8 West, so we're just going to put him at Maegashira 9 East. And so now that we've placed Wakamoto Haru, there's only 2 more Rikishi with winning records in the Makuuchi division that we could pull up. Aoyama and Kotoeko. Both of those guys had only 8-7 records. And they were ranked Maegashira 16 and 17 respectively.
No.
And then the Rikishi ahead of Maegashira 9 West that we could demote down to this spot are 0-15 Hideno Umi, who's going to be going down to Juryo. So I'm not going to mention his name on the rest of this Banzuke until we get to the Juryo demotees. So he's always hanging around as a guy that's dropping down the Banzuke, but he's going to Juryo. He's not in consideration for this. And then, like I said, we already placed Okino Umi and Chiyoshoma, our 4-11 Rikishi. They're out of the picture. So now the only other droppers that we've picked up since then, 4-11 Chiyo no Kuni, who is ranked Maegashira 9 East, not going to drop him a half rank to Maegashira 9 West. And 5-10 Shima no Umi, who was ranked Maegashira 9 West. And so we're not going to freeze his rank. And then you also have the 6-9 Tobizaru at Maegashira 8 West.
Oh, that doesn't sound so bad.
Of all of these, Tobizaru, it is the most palatable, only dropping him 1 rank after a 6-9 record. The sad thing for Tobizaru is, and for all of us, if he had gotten 1 more win and he had a 7-8 record, he definitely would have had his rank frozen for the 7-8. They would not have dropped him because of the situation we're in, and he would have been Maegashira 8 West for the 4th consecutive Basho. He was so close.
Oh man.
So yeah, Maegashira 9 West, we have Tobizaru.
You know, that reminds me of a Ben Affleck story.
I'm sure it does. Jake, enlighten me.
No, we all know which one I'm talking about.
Of course. It's obvious.
I gotta find some more fun facts. I'm sorry, I keep interrupting you, but yeah, I already went through and trimmed the fat off of this 43 behind the scenes facts about Ben Affleck for any good ones.
All right, Maegashira 10. We're gonna dive back into the chasm and see just how far we have to go to find a Rikshi to put here. So we start at Maegashira 12, where the only Rikshi that deserves that rank would get a promotion after a losing record. And we go to Maegashira 13, where of the two Rikshi that deserve that rank, one would be getting a promotion for a losing record, big no-no, and the other would be a Juryo Rikshi, but we haven't placed all of our Makuuchi Rikshi with a winning record yet. So in my mind, that guy's kind of still locked behind bars. We can't quite use him yet. Maegashira 14, if we go to that rank, that gets us a Rikshi that would be promoted after a losing record, or Shima no Umi, who would only be dropping a half rank after a 5-10 record. I don't think we can do that. So we go down to see who deserves to be ranked Maegashira 15. And the only Rikshi there is Miyogiryu. And if we put him there, he would be staying put after a 5-10 record. And then the other guy at Maegashira 15 would be Aoyama, who would get a 6 rank jump after an 8-7 record. So up the Banzuke you go, Aoyama.
Oh, dear.
You're the only eligible Rikshi for Maegashira 10 East. But Ryan, you said at the top of the episode that we might even have to pull people from 6 ranks below where they deserve to go, or you have to push somebody up 6 ranks further from where they deserve to go. And that's where we get to Maegashira 10 West. So we have to go even deeper than Maegashira 16, or even deeper to Maegashira 16, where we have 4 Rikshi that deserve that rank. 3 of them would be getting a promotion after a losing record. The other is Kotoeko, who would rise 7 ranks after an 8-7 record. Up you go, Kotoeko. Once again, you are basically the only eligible Rikshi that could go this rank. Unless, if they wanted to push Koto Shoho, he had 11-4 record at Juryo 2. It would be a bit more palatable for that record to land at Maegashira 10 West. I could see that throwing him up there past the Makuuchi Rikshi, but if we do that, then we're still going to have to place Kotoeko at Maegashira 11 East. So
yeah, it doesn't really help us much.
Might as well just put Koto Shoho right behind those two. So yeah, Maegashira 11 East. Maegashira 10 West was we found the bottom of the chasm, pulling up Kotoeko from 6 ranks.
You hear that, Kotoeko? Ryan giving you an over promotion is his rock bottom.
It's not my rock bottom. It's the Banzuke's rock bottom. And like I said, we'll see if it actually happens. But in my mind, that's the only way it can happen.
Sure.
But Maegashira 11 East, we don't have to dive quite as far deep down the chasm, but it still presents an interesting challenge. Like I said, I don't exactly know how the Banzuke committee wants to treat Koto Shoho on this Banzuke. I have them being generous to Koto Shoho and placing him at Maegashira 11 East here, which is a decent jump, more than we've seen quite a bit for Juryo Rikshi in the past. There are no more Makuuchi Rikshi with winning records that need to be placed, so he should be available. But it's been a couple years. It was Takagenji debuted at Maegashira 10 a few years ago, and it was a kind of similar situation to this, where you're just pulling people so far up from the Banzuke. I do think it helps that Koto Shoho is a former Makuuchi wrestler that made it up to the Joy. I think that makes it more palatable to the Banzuke committee on who they're pulling up, kind of deserving to be there, because we've seen Koto Shoho up at Maegashira 3.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I would need more evidence to agree with that claim.
It's fairly baseless, but in my mind.
Okay, all right. If we're tossing that disclaimer on it, all right.
Yes. But then we have there's a nagging part of me says that they might drop Shima no Umi only 2 ranks after his 5-10 record, despite Koto Shoho deserving to be ranked ahead of him, which isn't out of the question for Makuuchi Rikshi to be placed ahead of a Juryo Rikshi that deserves to be ahead of him by their record. Yeah. But if we follow that logic down the line, we assume Terutsuyoshi will stay at Maegashira 11 West after his 7-8 record. So then we get to deciding who goes to Maegashira 12 East. And that would come down to, once again, Koto Shoho or dropping Miyogiryu 2 ranks for his 5-10 record as well. Then if we continue with that logic, say we put Miyogiryu there. Chiyotairyu will stay at Maegashira 12 West. He had a 7-8 record, and we're trying to patch holes in this Banzuke wherever we can. And Chiyomaru will also stay at Maegashira 13 East because of his 7-8 record, and we're still plenty of holes to patch in this Banzuke.
I'm picturing like rapid fire, that meme of the guy like slapping the sticker on the leaking tank.
Yeah, pretty much.
Where Flex Seal is whatever, but you're just, let's slap a Chiyomaru on there because he's got a 7 and 8. That's fine. Whatever, move on.
So if we follow this logic train to placing Miyogiryu at Maegashira 12 East and Koto Shoho at Maegashira 13 West, I have a problem with this more than if I put Koto Shoho up, because by the numbers, Koto Shoho deserves to be 2 ranks ahead of Miyogiryu. And I think that is a little too mean to the Juryo Rikishi, even for the Banzuke committee, to put Miyogiryu ahead of Koto Shoho when Koto Shoho deserves to be 2 ranks ahead of him. But if we put Shima no Umi at Maegashira 11 East, keep him with a 2-rank drop, and then just put Koto Shoho at Maegashira 12 East and Miyogiryu at Maegashira 13 West, then we're separating Shima no Umi and Miyogiryu by 2.5 ranks, despite them having the same record right next to each other on the Banzuke.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know how much the Banzuke committee really cares about it, but I care about it. So in order to minimize the separation between Shima no Umi and Miyogiryu and keep Koto Shoho from being ranked behind a Rikishi like Miyogiryu that deserves to be 2 ranks below him, I'm putting Koto Shoho at Maegashira 11 East.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then, as I mentioned, thank God for Tetsuyoshi with his 7-8 record. Just leave him where he is on the Banzuke to give us a little handhold to climb out of this chasm. So Maegashira 12, kind of as I already discussed, I'm going to put Shima no Umi here at Maegashira 12 East after his 5-10 record for Maegashira 9. So 3-rank drop for a 5-10 record. Still pretty generous, but not as generous as that 2-rank drop. And then we're going to keep Chiyotairyu at his previous rank of Maegashira 12 West after his 7-8 record. Maegashira 13, going to keep Chiyomaru at his previous rank of Maegashira 13 East after his 7-8 record, and have Miyogiryu drop 3 spots to Maegashira 13 West after his 5-10 record for Maegashira 10.
Would it surprise you if they just bumped Chiyomaru and Chiyotairyu down half a rank to keep Miyogiryu and Shima no Umi together?
A little bit, because I have seen them. There was a basho where like Hoshoryu and Chiyo no Kuni were both like 8 and 7 for Maegashira 9. And it was very similar to this. We had to pull people way up to like Maegashira 3 or 4, and Chiyo no Kuni with his 8 and 7 record ended up at Maegashira 3 or 4, and Hoshoryu ended up at like Maegashira 5 or something like that. So there
Gotcha.
was a separation between them. It wasn't as severe as that one I was proposing between Shima no Umi and Miyogiryu as 2.5 ranks, but there was a bit of a separation. So I think they will allow for a bit of a separation here. Maybe, if anything, maybe they drop Chiyomaru a half rank and leave Miyogiryu at Maegashira 13 East. But my thinking is give them both a 3-rank drop. I think dropping Miyogiryu only 2 ranks just to keep him close to Shima no Umi and unfairly put him ahead of Chiyomaru doesn't make the most sense to me, just to kind of keep those guys super close together.
Sure.
So there's a little portion between 2.5 ranks and 1 rank where it crosses over into being too far. You can't separate them that much. We know it's somewhere in there.
Yeah, it's like, I don't care. That's too much.
Yeah, exactly. At least for me. Once again,
At least for
who
Ryan.
knows? Yeah. All right. So we get to Maegashira 14, and this, after like the ranks of Maegashira 11 and 13, Maegashira 11 through Maegashira 13, where I played out a few different scenarios how that could go. Luckily, that puzzle is wrapped up with Maegashira 13 West. There's no new Rikishi that would kind of, it's like, okay, we get down to Maegashira 13 West. We have Miyogiryu that could go here, or maybe like Koto Shoho, but now we also have to think about this guy could also go here, muddying things up. That doesn't happen here. all Kodo Shoho, Shimano Umi, Chiyomaru, Chiyo Tairyu, Tetsuyoshi, Kodo Shoho. I think I said Kodo Shoho twice. Miyagiryu. All those guys will be Maegashira 13 through Maegashira 11. We don't got to worry about them anymore, or anybody entering that conversation. So we get to Maegashira 14, and we're still looking at a pool of Rikishi that deserve to be Maegashira 16 from this group. We've already either pulled from the Maegashira 15 group, or that's still guys that would be getting a promotion after losing record, so they can't go here. But it's a lot better than the Maegashira 10 rank. So, small victories. I think this one's pretty straightforward. I have Chiyonokuni dropping 5 ranks after his 4-11 record at Maegashira 9 down to Maegashira 14 East. And I have Yutakayama dropping just 1 rank after his 6-9 record from Maegashira 13. I think the east and west of it is pretty easy. Chiyonokuni was previously on the east side. Yutakayama was previously on the west side. Keep them on their same sides. I think that should work out fairly well. Mm-hmm. Then we get to Maegashira 15. Once again, I think Maegashira 15 East should be pretty easy. I think that's going to fall to Aqua. So for the Maegashira 15 rank, we got to pull from a group of Rikishi that deserve to be Maegashira 17. And of those, Aqua is the only one that wasn't in Juryo in the previous Basho. So that tiebreaker is always going to go the way of Makuuchi Rikishi for me. So that puts Aqua at the Maegashira 15 East spot. And then at Maegashira 15 West, I think Tochinoshin is going to be our last guy with a 7-8 record that will get to keep his rank and stay at Maegashira 15 West.
I'm going to have to start rooting for Aqua to get at least a couple wins so that he can stick around in the top division for me to see more of his comedy.
They put Juryo, Nato Sumo does a Juryo digest every day. It's only 15 minutes.
Yeah, but if he's in the top division going against better wrestlers, I think he's more likely to fall on his face more times and
Fair.
do his brand of stand-up comedy, which is the opposite of stand-up.
I was gonna say, yeah, it's a lot of fall down comedy. He's a slapstick man at heart.
Yes, and I want him to stick around here. So let's go like the Kageyaki route and get 11 straight 7 and 8s and stay in the top division somehow.
There you go. Why don't you get some Ben Affleck Geely facts for me by the time I wrap up this Banzuke? There's got to be some good ones surrounding Geely.
Yeah, I'll take a look because I know that one was a disaster on every front, wasn't it?
Isn't he back with Jennifer Lopez now?
Oh God, is he?
I think so. Look that up too.
I'm sorry, as the resident Ben Affleck expert as of an hour ago, I should know this.
Maegashira 16. For this,
what the hell they did?
Yeah.
They started dating again in April 2021. What the hell?
I hope those kids can make it this time. I'm cheering for them.
Okay, on to Geely. Continue, though.
Yes, Maegashira 16. We're going to have to pull from the last 2 Rikishi that deserve to be ranked Maegashira 17. Both of these guys are Juryo promotees, Nishikigi. Haven't heard that name in a long time. When's the last time Nishikigi was in the top division? I'm going to look that up, Jake. Keep looking at Geely facts.
I'm going to stay on task, but yeah, you take a look.
So it looks like last time we saw Nishikigi in the top division was Aki of 2020. So he's been down in Juryo for a good year and a half now. But he had a 9-6 record at Juryo 2. He will be promoted back up to the Makuuchi division. And then the other one is Koto Kuzan, who has never been up into the Makuuchi division, and so we should be seeing him in Haru as well. Of these two, I'm going to go with Nishikigi on the east side, since he was previously on the east side. He was Juryo 2 East, and Koto Kuzan was on the west side. He was Juryo 4 West. Since they deserve to be the same rank, I'm going to use the east and west sides as a tiebreaker and put Nishikigi on the east side and Koto Kuzan on the west side.
So The Onion, when Geely came out, ran a article titled "Geely Focus Groups Demand New Ending in Which Affleck and Lopez Die." It's also the very bottom, the last thing on its Wikipedia page is "See also," and there's only one bullet point. It says "List of films considered the worst." Oh, that's spectacular. Okay,
I should watch that for poops and giggles sometime.
I would love to hang out and watch that together. I certainly could not do that one on my own.
Absolutely not. Someday we'll make it happen. All right. Maegashira 17. I have Kagayaki coming back to the Makuuchi division after his 8-7 record from the top Juryo rank to take the Maegashira 17 East spot. And then the final Makuuchi rank comes down to 3 Makuuchi Rikishi that deserve to go to Juryo, but only 2 will, since there are no more Juryo Rikishi that deserve to be promoted. So the 3 in consideration would be Oho, Ichi Yamamoto, and Tsurugisho. I'm going to go with Ichi Yamamoto at Maegashira 7 West due to process of elimination, really. In order to keep Oho, you would have to promote him from Maegashira 18 to Maegashira 17, which I don't think they will do.
Yeah,
Despite Oho would still be the bottom guy on the Banzuke in both cases, I think it's just kind of an unlucky situation for him where if we weren't adding somebody to the Sanyaku ranks and the Maegashira 18 East rank still stayed there, he could have possibly held on there, but just unlucky thing. There's another Sanyaku rank that eliminates the Maegashira 18 East, which
so
would give him.
Takayumi's fault.
It is. I think
I hope that he starts like a blood feud with Takayumi over this. Like
I do too, because that would mean he would be up in the joy, and I would love to see Oho up in the joy.
The way that we had that blood feud with John Gunning for a while, we have like our Walmart brand blood feud with those dirtbags at Texas Sumo and Sake. Yeah, it's just not the same, but they try.
Yep. And then the other guy eliminated from this is Tsurugisho. He faced off against Koto Kuzan on day 15, and that really seemed like it was going to be a winner goes to / stays in Makuuchi match, and Tsurugisho lost that match. If Tsurugisho had won that match, he would have ended up with a 6-9 record at Maegashira 16, which would have been with a 7-8 record at Maegashira 16, which would have been enough to keep him in here, but he does end up with a 6-9 record at Maegashira 16, and it gave Koto Kuzan a 10-5 record from Juryo 4. And so since Tsurugisho lost that match, like I said, it really felt like a winner stays, loser leaves sort of thing. I am eliminating Tsurugisho from consideration, and that gives me Ichi Yamamoto to be the bottom guy in Makuuchi for Haru. If we wanted, because Ichi Yamamoto 5-10 for Maegashira 14, he'd only be dropping 3 ranks. If we really wanted to push him down to Juryo, then we would have to pull up Azumaryu, who had a 9-6 record from Juryo 5, which is not a promotable record for Azumaryu, despite Ichi Yamamoto having a demotable record. But I think you go on the side of the Makuuchi wrestler in that case. And by the numbers, Ichi Yamamoto still deserves to be ahead of Azumaryu. So,
sure.
So Azumaryu is a dark horse to take the spot. I'm going to throw it out there as a possibility in case it happens. I don't think it will, but in case it does, I can at least point to this and say, hey, I knew it was a possibility.
Yep.
That's all I'm really trying to do in this episode. When I talk about all the options, just like, hey, I thought this could have happened. I mentioned it. I just went another way.
Yeah.
I'm not dumb and didn't see it coming.
So my pick for what you're going to get wrong.
You have a lot to choose from.
Honestly, I kind of don't want to make a pick just because there's like 2 giant swaths of this Banzuke where it's guaranteed that everybody who guesses anything is going to get those sections thoroughly incorrect by 1 rank or something, right?
Yeah.
By 1 slot or something like that. I don't know.
Worst case scenario for me, at least on Guess the Banzuke and the standings, is them going out of their minds and creating a 3rd Komosubi slot, so we're not snubbing Oho or snubbing Onosho, making
sure.
Hoshoryu, Onosho, and Takanosho 3 Komosubi, so we're not snubbing him. But this would be the Banzuke committee that we saw a 10-5 record from Maegashira 2, not create a new Komosubi slot. So they're not going to do
it for 5.
Yeah, Daisho had a 13-2 for Maegashira 1. They created a new Sanyaku slot, but it was Komosubi, not Sekiwake, which everybody thought they were going to do.
What on earth was that one?
Exactly. So that would be the most disastrous to my Banzuke prediction, is if they did somehow, for some reason, create another Sanyaku slot. I just can't see them doing that. I'm trying to think of what else, because I've been really good the past 3 or 4 Basho. If I miss somebody, I'm missing them by a full rank, not even a rank and a half. So I've been pretty good at getting these guys in the region they're going to go, but just miss a little bit.
Yeah.
I think this one has more potential for me missing by more than like a rank and a half and missing somebody by 2 full ranks.
Something like no-show really seems like a difficult one.
Yeah, if I miss who is gonna like take that Komosubi slot, like if they do decide to go with no-show ahead of Hoshoryu for Komosubi, like I said, I think
that's a bunch of slots off.
that
Yeah.
I think by process of elimination that puts Hoshoryu at Maegashira 3, and yeah, that's a big miss for me. Or, I mean, if they decide to freeze like Ichinojo and Tamawashi's rank, I wouldn't miss anybody by a whole lot. It'd just be a lot of small misses in there.
It would just knock everything else off by half a rank. Yeah.
Yeah. And then maybe something in that, maybe like Kodo Shoho. Maybe I put him too high.
Sure. Yeah.
Or they do something really, they really don't want to promote Aoyama and Kodo Waco 6
right.
or 5 and 6 ranks for 8, or sorry, no, 6 and 7 ranks for 8 and 7 records. So there could be some funkiness in there. I feel like this one has a lot more potential for volatility for my prediction.
I think Kodo Eiko in particular was the other one I was going to bring up. That one is that is a ludicrous promotion. That is like, taking one turn and hitting like the ladder that goes all the way across the board on chutes and ladders or something, right?
Yeah.
Like that one's silly.
Let's see if that has actually ever happened before.
In the meantime, since Flarrick's not here, I'm going to use up our podcast single F-bomb on my favorite Ben Affleck story. This is one that I was actually saving for the end, regardless of if the Ben Affleck joke actually went anywhere. But in the commentary for Armageddon, Ben Affleck says that once I asked Michael Bay, the director, why it was easier to train oil drillers to become astronauts than it was to train astronauts to become oil drillers. And he told me to shut the fuck up. So that was the end of that talk.
Oh, perfect.
Oh, Michael Bay is just a treasure. Like, he's the train wreck that keeps on giving, but like knows that it's a train wreck, so it wrecks harder on purpose, and it's like really good at wrecking. So like, each wreck is particularly spectacular. Yeah, it's a thing.
Yeah. So I did look up a Maegashira 17 with 8 wins being promoted up to Maegashira 10. That has happened once in 1943. Okay. They did have 15 matches per basho then, so it is more comparable. Because sometimes you like look up, all right, how did this Maegashira 1 with 6 wins do on the next Banzuke? And like he got promoted up to Sekiwake. Oh, well, they only fought like 9 matches back then, so he had like a 6-3 record or something like that. But then if you look at a Maegashira 16 with 8 wins being promoted up to Maegashira 10, you have 2 cases of that happening. Looks like it happened on the same Banzuke, both in January of 1938, where they both had 8 and 5 records. So that's a good spot to look at. But kind of as I went through, who do you put there?
I don't think there's a better answer. I'm just saying that it's weird and I don't like it.
That
makes me feel like it's probably going to be wrong somehow or other.
Like I said, I think the answer could be Koto Shoho. I'm very curious if we have a Maegashira 9 with 5 wins. We're going to kind of simulate Shima no Umi here. If he only dropped 1 rank to Maegashira 10, you get 30 results of that happening. Oh, no. Wait, I did that wrong. I made him a Maegashira 5 with a 5 and 10 record dropping to Maegashira 10. Of course, that happens all the time.
Of course.
This has happened 3 times, but once again, it was like they had a 5 and 6 record in 1936 and only dropped 1 rank.
Okay.
Effectively, that's never happened either. So history's happening, baby. Making history.
Oh dear.
All right. So this Banzuke will be released on February 28th. So I only have 27 more days to kind of think about all the different ways I messed this up.
Which is the one that you wanted to change mid-episode? Was that Sada no Umi?
Sada no Umi up to Maegashira 7 West instead of Hoki no Umi, but I'm sticking with it. We'll see what happens. Basha is going to start March 13th in 2022. If you enjoy this podcast, you can leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast listening service. Make sure you leave your 5-star review with your favorite Ben Affleck anecdote.
Oh Lord, yeah. Oh, for sure.
Or probably your 1-star reviews based on this episode.
If you'd like to submit your own Ben Affleck fun facts to social media, find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, or our blog, grandsumobreakdown.benaffleckfacts.com.
If you have any comments, questions, or corrections about any of our Ben Affleck facts, you can send us an email at grandsumobreakdown@gmail.com. Or if you are Ben Affleck himself, you can leave us a voicemail at 805-6133-7866. Ben, that is 805-613-SUMO.
I think you added an extra 3.
805-613-SUMO.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
it.
Ben, get it right. Don't put in an extra 3. Just the 1 3 in the number. All right. That's all we
3.
got. Yeah. That's all we got on the Banzuke and Ben Affleck. No, that's not all we got. Jake interrupted me. We have 4 promotees up to the top division. So that means we have 4 demotees going down to Juryo. I have those as Hidenu Umi, Tsurugisho, Kaisei, and Oho. Now you may leave your 1-star review for this Ben Affleck episode.
Now we have to go through the entire Ben Affleck show wrap up again.
No, we're good.
Thank you for listening to Grand Sumo Breakdown. Until next time,
Throw your salt high.
And keep moving forward.